we will going to talk about cryptographic checksums. Okay, so what is cryptographic checksums and for what it is being used? So there is something called message authentication. Okay? We need to authenticate the message. Okay? Message authentication is concerned with protecting the integrity of the message. Okay? Whatever message is starting from the source, exactly the same message should receive at the destination end, right? So this is protecting the integrity of the message. Unauthorized modification of the message should not be done. So this comes under message authentication. It is something which concerns with validating the identity of the originator, right? So if S is sending the message to D, there is a way through which we can validate that thus, yes, this message is coming from S only. Okay, so this is known as validating the identity of the originator. And the third one is non-repudiation of origin. Okay, so if S has sent the message to D, S cannot deny. Okay, deny should not be there. He cannot say that no, I am not the one who has sent this message. Okay, so when we deal with message authentication, we are actually dealing with these three important properties, these three important concerns that are related with the message. All right, so let's consider, so we will also definitely consider the security requirement, other security requirement like confidentiality as well. So it is also a part of this. So let's see how to achieve it, how to achieve message authentication. Okay. So there are three ways in which we can achieve message authentication. One way we have already covered. So there are three functions which can be used to achieve message authentication, right? The first one we have already covered, which is called message encryption. Okay? We need to encrypt the message, okay, to achieve confidentiality, to achieve message authentication. I hope from the last videos you may remember how to achieve, we talked about how to achieve message authentication using public key crypto systems, right? So any crypto system doesn't matter, whatever you can use, but message encryption, in itself provide message authentication. We will see how we can achieve it in today's class. The second way is hash functions. Okay, so there is something called hash functions, and hash functions are also considered to be cryptographic checksums. In message encryption, we are not attaching any extra thing with the message. But whenever we talk about hash functions and message authentication codes or hash based message authentication codes, we will actually, get a particular code, you can say, or something extra we will get, and we will attach this particular code with the message to achieve message authentication, right? And therefore, these are known as checksums. We consider this code as checksum. So hash function will also generate a checksum, which will be attached with the message to achieve message authentication. Message authentication code is another method which will generate a code as the name suggests to authenticate the message. And hash based message authentication code is a combination of these two techniques actually. Okay, so these techniques are called cryptographic checksum. Okay, hash functions particularly called as keyless cryptographic checksum, whereas message authentication is known as key based cryptographic checksums. Okay, so let's see how these three different methods can be used to achieve message authentication. So first, let me take you through the message encryption. We have already covered encryption techniques in detail. So let's see how symmetric message encryption can allow us or can provide us the authentication as well. Okay, so symmetric key encryption is based on this single key used for encryption and decryption. Now, if receiver knows that the sender must have created it, okay, so if this message is encrypted by a sender or a source A using key K. Similarly, at the destination end, at the destination B can decrypt it using the same key. He can authenticate that yes, this particular data, since it is decrypted using the same key which is shared between A and B, since it is decrypted, I can say that yes, this message is actually coming from the sender only. Okay. And since only sender and receiver use the key, nobody else in between have modified the message, right? So in that sense, we can achieve message authentication using symmetric encryption. Okay. And same applies with public key message encryption scheme. So we, in the last video, which is related with the RSA, we have actually seen how public and private pairs can be used to achieve confidentiality as well as authenticity. Okay. So in that we have seen, if we encrypt the message from the public key of from the private key of sender, only public version of that particular sender, public key of that sender will open the message. Okay, so with that, the receiver can verify that yes, this particular message is coming from this particular sender. Okay, so this is A and this is B, suppose, and he encrypt the message using his private key of A. Okay, if receiver, at the receiver end, he can decrypt the message using public key of A, this will actually give us the authentication of the origin or of the sender. And to achieve confidentiality, we will encrypt the entire data using public key of B, so that at the decryption end, private key of B will be used. And since private key is only with B, so we will achieve the confidentiality as well, right? So this is how we can achieve confidentiality and authentication, right? So basically encryption is one of the technique, whether it is a symmetric encryption or public encryption. But yes, through encryption, we can achieve message authentication. Now let's see the second method, that is hash functions, right? How to achieve message authentication using hash functions, and particularly what are hash functions. So basically hash functions condenses the message into a fixed size length. So no matter what is the size of the message, it could be any number of bits, but this n bits of message will get converted into a fixed size bits, let's say k bits. Okay, this is the job of hash function. So there is a function, let's call it denoted by capital H. Okay, it will take this plain text message and convert it into a checksum, or reduce or condense this particular message, and let's call this generated code as H. Okay, this is called hash value corresponding to this message. So each message has their own hash values. Okay, and the input to this function is the message itself, right? So usually hash functions is public, is open. Everybody knows what hash function people are using, but depending upon the value of the message, depending upon what message you are giving to hash function, accordingly, every time a different value of H will be generated. Okay, so hash is used to detect the changes in the messages. So at the source end, the sender will generate the hash value corresponding to this message M, and then this message and the hash value will be appended, okay, and send it to over the channel to the receiver. At the receiver's end, he will compare this particular hash value by recomputing the hash value on M, and can identify whether the message is changed or not, right? So we will see that in detail. Now, there are certain properties which is very important, so properties of hash functions which are actually very important to achieve message authentication, right? So the first property says that it is computationally infeasible to find a data mapping to a specific hash value. Okay, again, now we come to this one-way property, if you remember. So this is also a one-way function. If you have the message and you know the hash function, it is very easy to compute hash value. Okay, but if somebody will give us this hash value, it is computationally infeasible to get back to the message. So one way is very easy, but reverse of this is very hard. This is the one way property. Okay, it is computationally infeasible to find the data mapping to a specific hash value. Second property says it is computationally infeasible to find two datas with same hash. Okay, this is called collision free property. So suppose I am having a message and I applied hash function on this and get h value. If there is an intruder who would like to make changes in the message, it is very difficult to find another message m dash which is having the same hash value. Okay, so hash value of two messages will give the same hash value is known as collision, right? So there is this property, collision free property, which is associated with the hash functions, that it is computationally infeasible to find two different data which is having same hash value, because even the slight change in the data, only you just flip one letter, it will change the uh, hash value drastically. Okay, so these are the two important properties, one way property and collision free property, which allows hash function to achieve message authentication. Okay, so this is a figure which depicts the general operations of the hash value. Okay, so we have a message of any number of bits, let's say m bit. Okay, now this particular message can undergo a hash function which will actually condense the message into a fixed length hash value. Okay, and this is also called as message digest. Okay, condensed form of the message digest, hash value or message digest. Now you can append few more bits. If you want more security or more randomness, you can append few number of bits and then compute the hash function. But the job of hash function is it will take whatever you give to the function and compute a fixed length value, okay, which is called hash value or message digest. Okay, now, so message authentication, what is it? It is a mechanism or service which is used to verify the integrity of the message by assuring that the data received at the receiver end is exactly same as it is sent from the sender's end. Okay, so this is the important thing that we need to somehow validate. Okay, and hence we can say that the message is authenticated. This is the actual message, authentic message that is coming from the sender's end. Okay, now there are not two but four variants of how hash functions can be used in practice. So I will take you through all those four variations through different figures. Okay, and in each variation we will actually generate a hash code which is used to authenticate the message. Okay, but before that, let me tell you, these are the few actual hash functions which people use: SHA-512, SHA-3, MD5. Okay, I hope you all have heard name of these hash functions. So what are they? They are the hash functions which convert the n bit of message or any length of message into a fixed size value. Okay, right. Now let's see the first variant of hash function. So in this variant, what is happen is we have a plain text message here, M. This particular message will undergo the hash function. Okay, so h of m has been computed. Whatever is the value of h of m, this value is appended with the actual message. Okay, and this is the sign of append. This is nothing but append. Okay, so this particular value, the value of h of m, will be appended with the message. Okay, so what we got message appended with h of m. This is what we got. Okay, right. So here we compute h of m. So this is what we got. Then this entire thing will be encrypted. This entire thing will be encrypted using a key using a key K, right? So a key K is used to encrypt this entire message, and this is what it's written here. Okay, so first the message is appended with the hash value of the message, and then it is encrypted using key K. Okay, now this particular block of information is sent over the channel. At the receiver end, what will happen? The receiver, or B, what B will do, B will first decrypt this using the same key K. Okay, so if we are using the symmetric key encryption, key is already shared, we will decrypt it. So when we will decrypt it, what we get? We get this particular thing, M appended with H of M. Yes, this is what we get. So now at the receiver end, what receiver will do, what we will do, B will separate these two things. Okay, M will be separated from H of M. Now this M will undergo again the hash function. We will compute. So hash function is known to everyone, right? So the other party also know that which hash function you have used. So this receiver or B will actually again compute the hash value of this message. Okay. So suppose the hash value of this message is H dash, which is computed at receiver's end, or let's call it H of R. Hash value computed at receiver end. Okay, and if you remember at the in the beginning only we have separated one hash value. Let's call it h of s. This is the hash value which is sent by the sender. Okay, now what happened? There is a comparison which will took place. If these two values are same, the hash value which is computed through the message at receiver's end is equal to the hash value which is attached with the message itself. If both the values are same, we can say that yes, the message is authentic. We can validate the authenticity of the messages, because if you remember the property, it is collision free. It is very difficult that there are two different messages which collide with each other, okay, which have the same hash value. So if the hash value is not equal, we say the message is tampered. If HR is equal to HS, we say the hash value or the message is authenticated. So the message plus concatenated hash code, entire thing is encrypted using symmetric encryption in this case, right? And since only A and B share the secret key, the message has come from A and has not been altered. Okay, so we can validate these two things. Integrity of the message and origin authentication is done. Okay. There is another variation for this, where the plain text message, so this is same, we will have the plain text message and we will compute the hash value out of this message, right? So we will compute h of m. Okay, now only the hash value will be encrypted instead of the entire message or entire message appended with the hash value. Only the hash value will be encrypted using a key. Okay, and that encrypted hash value, please mind it, the encrypted hash value will be attached with the plain text message. Okay, so after this what we get is we get this E encrypted. Encryption is done using key K, and on which part encryption has been done, whatever code which that is generated from h of m. Okay, so this is what we get, and this particular encrypted hash code will be attached or appended with the message. Okay, so message is of the form plain text message m along with the encrypted hash code message. Now this is sent to the receiver end. Okay, so this is senders, this is receiver, this is what we send. And at the receiver end, what receiver will do is receiver will separate message from the encrypted hash code. The encrypted hash code will undergo decryption. Okay, and we will get actual h of m, the value of actual h of m. let's call it h of s because this is coming from the sender. And then what receiver will do, receiver will compute h of m at his end, and suppose he will get h of r. Now h of r is compared with h of s. If both are same, then we can say that message is not tempered. If both are different, then we say that the message is tempered. Right? So only hash code is encrypted using symmetric encryption rather than the entire message along with the hash code. Okay? Now, how does it help? So this particular approach is actually reducing the processing burden for those applications that does not require confidentiality. Okay. If you have noticed, confidentiality is not achieved in this method. Why? Because suppose there is somebody in between, let's say Eve. Eve is sitting in between. If he get this particular thing, m plus e of k h m, then what happened? Eve can read this plain text messages. Okay, and hence we can say confidentiality is not achieved. So this is the method which will not give you confidentiality, but only message authentication is there. It can authenticate that the message is coming from a particular source, right? So processing time is less, and this method is useful, when we need only authentication rather than confidentiality also. Okay? So for example, sometimes it may happen that suppose I send you a message that today the class is at 2 p.m. Okay, so I want to send this message, the class is at 2 p.m. Now, I don't bother whether anybody will read the message or not. Okay, so this is not something which is a very private message. Anybody will know this message, then also it is okay, no issues, right? So I don't want the confidentiality, but as a student, what you want is you want to authenticate the message, right? That the message is coming from the madam only. It is not like that somebody else or any other student is actually posting this message. Okay, so in this case we just need authentication, that's it, the source authentication. Okay, so in such scenario we can use this type of variation of hash function. So the question is, what if we will not encrypt the hash map? So you are saying that what we will do, we will just append the hash code of the message and send it over the receiver end, right? This is what you are saying?
Yes, and only the message is encrypted and not the hash code.
Only the message is encrypted. Yes, so that is another way. So there you are actually achieving confidentiality, right? But what I'm saying, the scenario that we are considering is there are many cases where you don't need confidentiality, but you need authentication. Okay? So if you need authentication, this is one way to achieve only authentication without confidentiality. Okay? It will take a lots and lots of time to encrypt the message, and it is quite easy to encrypt the small code, right? If you remember the ciphers that we have learned, the bigger the message, the more number of blocks you have to encrypt, for more times you have to execute your encryption algorithm. Okay, and the lesser is the code, the process is faster. Okay, so this particular method actually reduces the processing burden a lot because you are encrypting only a very small piece of data. Okay, so maybe you have to run your encryption algorithm only once or twice depending upon the size of the hash value. Okay, right. So in this, we are actually encrypting the hash code. There is another scenario where we are not encrypting. We are not using encryption at all because encryption is considered to be a time-consuming process. So let's not use it at all, right? So this is also a variant of hash functions. So there is something called a secret code, which is shared between source and destination. Okay, so S is a secret code which is already shared. Now, what A will do or what the source will do, first the message, the plain text message will be appended with S, right? So we have M appended with S, the secret code. And then the hash is calculated on this entire thing. M of S is calculated. And then this code is then appended to M, right? So we have message M along with the hash, which is computed over the message appended with the secret code. Okay. Now encryption is not done at all. At the receiver end, what receiver will do, since receiver is also having the secret code, so what he will do, he will have the plain message, append the secret code, calculate the hash code HR, okay, and then compare it with HS. Okay, so this is another way. So it shows the use of hash function without encryption, which is used for message authentication. Now, this technique assumes that the secret code is shared between both the parties, right? So A computes the hash value over concatenation of M and S and append it to the message, whereas at the receiver end, he will recompute the hash value after appending the message with the secret code that is already shared. Okay, and because the secret value is, secret, it is not sent along with the message, opponent cannot modify the intercepted message. Okay, otherwise it will be detected. Fine. So another variation, now in C we are not able to achieve confidentiality still, right? So there is another variation which says that, okay, now what you can do is you have this secret code with you. Okay, so you have calculated the hash code over M appended S. Okay, now you append this particular hash code with M, the plain text message, and encrypt this entire thing, right? So the entire thing will be encrypted using a key, and this is what we achieve, right? So first what we will do, we append M with S, this is what we get. Then we compute hash value over this. Then the entire hash value will be appended with the plain text message. And then the entire thing, M appended with H of M appended with S, will be encrypted, will undergo encryption using a key K. Okay, and we get this. At the receiver end, what receiver will do, receiver will first decrypt the data. After decrypting, he get to know this value is known. Okay, then he will separate out this value M and H of M appended S. Okay, so M, what we will do with M, we will first append S with M, calculate the H, this will give us HR, and this value is equivalent to HS. Compare these two values. Okay, so in this way confidentiality can be added in the approach that we have learned in C, right? So whenever you need confidentiality also, you have to incorporate encryption on the message. Okay, and the cases where you need only authentication, no confidentiality is required, you can use B or C depending upon the situation, right? If you are having the key, you can go for encryption. If you are shared a secret code, you can go with this method. Okay, so these are the 4 variants of hash functions. So let's see another way, another key based cryptographic checksum method, which is known as message authentication code, or MAC in short, right? So basically what is MAC? So it is, MAC is a code, okay, which will use for message authentication, as the name suggests. Now this particular code is generated by an algorithm that creates a small fixed size block, like in hash functions, right? You get a fixed size block. In this also you get a fixed size code. Okay, but now this time in MAC, this code generation will depend on 2 things, on the message and a key. Okay, and therefore it is called key based message authentication code, right? Or key based cryptographic checksum. So the checksum is generated and it required 2 things as an input, message and the key, right? So suppose C is the code which will generate MAC. We have to give key as well as the message as an input, and it will give us the output, a code which is also known as MAC, message authentication code. Okay. So like encryption, though, need not reversible. Okay. And if you need the confidentiality, again, you have to do encryption, right? Now, same with the hash functions in MAC also, receiver perform the same computation on the message and check whether the MAC which is coming from the sender end is matches from the MAC that the receiver has computed at his end, right? And that is how it will provide the assurance that the message is unaltered and it is come from the specified sender only, right? So let's see how it works. So this is the method of code generation, MAC generation. It depends on the key and message, right? So first message will undergo this function along with the key K. Then the message code is appended with the message and then send over the channel. And at the destination end, again, the same function is used with the same key. Okay. And again, MAC at R is generated and compared with MAC, which is coming from the sender. If both are same, we can validate the authenticity of message. Otherwise, we can say the message is altered or tampered or corrupted in between. Okay. It will not provide us the confidentiality. If you need confidentiality, you can go for encryption in between. You can use encryption to achieve confidentiality. Okay. So in this way, MAC provides authentication. Now, why to use MAC? So sometimes only authentication is needed. As I am repeating many a times, sometimes it may happen that we need only authentication. Okay. So then there is no need to go for confidentiality, no need to go for encryption. Okay. You can just use MAC or hash functions to generate the checksum and attach the checksum with the plain text message. Right? And if you need confidentiality as well, just go for encryption. Okay. And you have to encrypt the message at least to achieve confidentiality. Okay. Right. So, so these are the properties of MAC, right? Again, this is, so there will be possible that there are many messages which can give rise to the same MAC, but it is very difficult to find. Okay, so again, MAC possess collision-free property. There exist different messages which have the same MAC, but it is very difficult to find such messages or generate such messages. Okay, and similarly, if you have MAC, it is very difficult to go in the reverse direction. If one way is easy, computing MAC, generating MAC is very easy. But if you have MAC generating the original message or map it with the original message is very difficult, right? Now there are few methods which are based on combination of hash functions and message authentication code that are known as HMAC, hash based MAC. Okay. So these methods are very much similar, whatever we have learned. The only difference is in case of simple MAC, we will take the original message, okay, and it will undergo the function, the message in the functions which will generate the MAC, okay. Whereas in hash based MAC, entire message, the MAC will not generated by the entire message, rather it will be generated on the hash which is created with the original message, right? So original message will undergo some hash function, let's say MD5, SH1, any hash function, and then we generate the hash value. Okay, hash value is also known as message digest, and then we will apply MAC on the message digest, right? So now in this case, the function C will take the key along with the MD. Instead of original message, now MD will taken, and we will compute MAC based on these data. Okay, based on the hash value generated from the original message. So this is called hash based MAC. Definitely it is faster than MAC. Why? Because you have a little less data to work on, right? So in that case, and you can achieve the uh, advantage of both hashing as well as message authentication core, right? So these are few techniques to achieve message authentication.